Okay. So we are here tonight for our Town Finance Committee meeting to begin the budget review cycle for, what's today's date? February 4th. I should know that after the Super Bowl. Anyway, so let's open the meeting at 5:37. All right, so presenting first is Bob Charles, the Veterans Agent.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, East Bridgewater. My name is Robert Charles. For those who do not know me, I'm the Veteran Service Officer for the town of East Bridgewater. What I'd like to do is, first of all, I handed out my mission statement along with my budget request. I'd like to go over my mission statement for those who do not know who I am or what I do. The Department of Veteran Services have been providing services and benefits to veterans and their dependents since 1861. The Massachusetts General Law requires that every city and town maintain a Department of Veteran Services, either part-time or full-time. From the start in 1861, the veterans within the Commonwealth of Mass have not been forgotten. We of the Massachusetts Veteran Service Department are committed to assist veterans and their dependents with concern and compassion. The mission of my office is to provide eligible veterans and their families who are residents of East Bridgewater financial assistance and medical care in accordance with a formula that takes into account the number of dependents and the income from all sources in that household. Eligible dependents of deceased veterans are provided with the same benefits as if the veteran were still living. I also refer veterans to the VA hospital housing, employment, and educational services, or the Social Security office for a more permanent solution to their needs. And as the economy declines, the need for veterans benefits rises, along with the veterans returning from active duty and seeking financial help, therefore increasing the number of clients applying for Chapter 115. Keep in mind that the town is reimbursed by the state 75% of what I spend on veterans in the town. So what I do as a veterans agent, someone comes into my office, whether it be the veteran or the widow, if they have prescription co-pays or doctor co-pays and they qualify based on their household income, I am obligated to reimburse them those co-pays along with Medicare premiums, healthcare premiums, anything that's going to help them, whether it be the veteran or the widow. Now that's basically my mission statement, and I also would like to point out what I like doing is following what I've done over the past year. My budget for veterans assistance for fiscal year 19 was $232,279. My expenditure as of February 1st of 2019 is $118,927.46.
How much was that again, Bob?
$118,927.46. I have it written right on the bottom of my mission statement as well. Leaving a balance of, as of February 1st, of $113,351.54. So I expend per month on the average $16,985 for benefits for veterans and their families. And with 5 months remaining in the fiscal year, the projected expenditure for those 5 months is $84,925. That leaves a balance of $28,426.54, which I will be returning to the general fund. That's as we sit here and speak tonight. This is what I anticipate on returning to the general fund. That's not counting anything that might come up, a funeral. If a veteran comes through, and obviously not coming through, but if a veteran passes away and the family doesn't have the means to pay for the funeral, we are obligated to pay $4,000 on a $5,000 funeral bill. So, but as of now, my projection is to return $28,000 to the general fund. That's what I like keeping track of. So you'll know where I'm coming from, what I've spent. And always keep in mind, what I do spend, the town is reimbursed 75% from the state. Now, looking at fiscal year 2020, the Veterans Services salaries, the total salaries, I have it highlighted there. This is with a 2% increase, $55,747.84. And as you can see there, also I have my longevity pay that's gone up to 6 1/4 because I've been there for 10 years, so you get the 6 1/4 longevity. So, and then the Veteran Services expenses, which will be for training, office supplies, travel, mileage to my conferences, and membership dues, that all comes out to be $3,232.38 based on that 2% increase. You see, it says other expenses, Veterans Assistance. That's that program I was just talking about. It's the Chapter 115 state-run program. The 2% increase would bring it to $236,924.58. That is what I have to work with. And I'll take that number and I'll do next year what I did this year as far as breaking down how much I've spent and how much will go back to the general fund. But the total budget is $295,904. In the past, going back a few years ago now, it was to the point where I was, every 3 or 4 months, I would have to come back to the Finance Committee to request more money, because that's just the way it worked. And then they said, well, let's just do something here. Let's figure out what you roughly spend every month, and we'll give it to you, and whatever you have left over, you go back in the general fund, is what we've been doing. So this is my budget in a nutshell. It's pretty plain and simple. So it is here for the veterans and the families of the veterans. So keep in mind, 75%.
Have you decreased in veterans over the years, or?
Actually, when I started here 10 years ago, there were 2 veterans that were actually taking benefits out of this program. Now I have 20. I believe last year I had 22. So I had a couple of them that unfortunately passed away. But next thing you know, probably in a couple of weeks from now, who knows, I may pick up another veteran or widow of a veteran. But you might drop 2, but pick up 1. So average is around 20 veterans that I help with this program. Now,
Great.
I know it seems like, well, that's not very much work, you know, but people don't also realize, as far as the veteran world goes, there's the VA, the federal VA in Brockton. People come in and they apply for VA disabilities. I also help them do that. That has nothing to do with this budget, by just explaining what I actually do. I help them file for disabilities, and I also help them get unemployment if they're able to work. Send them over to the unemployment office, you know, Career Works is what they call it. But you know, it's just more than just this program. It's helping people file for aid and attendance. You know, if they get put into a nursing home, they need help financially. So that's another program we deal with. But as far as the budget goes, this is it, cut and dry. So, and that is it, mine. Any
Does anyone have any
questions or comments?
Actually, I do. So Bob, when you're looking at your budget each year, are you looking year over year? Or are you just taking the 2% and automatically building that in? Or are you looking over, last year I spent this much, so next year I'm gonna just spend that much as well? Or are you looking, I guess, what's your formula? Is it
What I do
5-year?
is, I just take the 2%, if it's a -2 or a +2, I work with that.
Okay.
You know, I think, what was it, last year, I think we had a negative, or we were level funded, and it just went with that,
Okay,
whatever the percentage is. So, and like I say, anything left over, you know,
Right,
last
comes
year,
back.
you notice I put a lot back, so.
yep.
So when you are projecting that you'll have money to send back, is that all within the Veterans Assistant line, or is that in the other lines too?
No, that's just in the Veterans Assistance line, yep. Yeah, that 75% also that the state gives back is only on the Veterans Assistance, you know. The state doesn't give back 75% of my salary or my expenditures, only the Veterans Assistance.
What do you have to do to get that money back? Is there, do you have to report quarterly? How does that-
Actually, every month I send a report in, And the state, they used to, God, it used to take 12, 13 months for the state to get the month of January back into the town. But now they're doing a lot better. They're like, I believe it's like every 30 days. Like when I submit for the month of January, my expenses, come probably about March, the town will have that 75% back already.
Yeah.
So they're getting a
Yeah,
lot
it
better.
might be pretty
Yep.
quick
Yeah,
for,
very quick. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
all right, does anyone have any questions for Bob?
Questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you for doing this.
Oh, no problem. I've been doing it for 10 years, so, and I love it.
Do they like their parking spot, the new parking spot?
Yes, and that parking spot is available for all veterans, whether they come see me or whether they come in to pay their taxes. You know, it's there for them to, you know,
Good
be
idea.
recognized. I mean, you can give all the money you want in the world to them, but, you know, to pull into a parking lot and you
Yeah.
see a sign that says veterans only, that means a
It's
lot.
the little things.
Yeah, it's those little things that mean a lot, so. And I also thank the Finance Committee for all your support and help through all of these years I've been here, so.
Yeah, I'm glad we changed it a few years ago,
Yes,
you know, instead of coming back.
every 3 or 4
Every
months.
3 or
Hey, I
4
need
months.
some more money, please, you
Yeah.
know, but this way it works better.
Yep.
You know, everybody's.
And then
you
the
know,
remainder goes back, so
Yep,
it's a good process.
nothing lost, nothing gained, same.
Yep. Excellent. Thanks,
right.
Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, guys.
You too. All right. Who do we have next? My thing cut off. You know?
Conservation.
All right,
Um,
Claire.
Unless, are we going no water? It's on the posting.
Oh, on your, my, is Kim coming up with you? Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Oh, you brought some too, okay. I was gonna say, because I brought this too. Oh, thank you. This is a paper. Slideshow here. All right.
You ready?
Yep.
I'm Claire Yocum from the Conservation Commission. Knowing that you have new members, I just put a little something together just to explain briefly what Conservation Commission is responsible for, what we do. So the Conservation Commission is responsible for administering the state's Wetlands Protection Act. Vegetated wetlands and other resource areas play an important role in decreasing flooding, protecting water quality, water supplies, reducing pollution, and protecting wildlife habitat. Wetlands Protection Act protects these interests by regulating construction and other potentially damaging activity in or near a resource area. Someone doing work within 100 feet of a wetland or 200 feet of a river must file the appropriate permit application before starting the work. 2017, the town passed the MS4 bylaw, which EPA calls the town's stormwater system. And Conservation became the reviewing and permitting authority for these regulations. The purpose is to reduce pollutants in the stormwater runoff to the MS4 from any pre- and post-construction activities that result in land disturbance.
Have you used that a lot?
We're using it, we're using it more and more.
Okay.
A
'Cause
lot.
I remember the first year it kind of started, we weren't really sure.
We weren't sure what
Yeah,
we were
well,
getting, and we're still kind of
right.
in the growing stages. We have a lot of administrative permits, which is disturbance under 5,000 square feet, which is handled more. In the office, there's a small fee associated with it, and we see probably more of those that could be for a pool or a septic system, small projects with small
So do you have to pull
disturbance.
2 permits then in that case, or is it still just covered all?
No, it's a separate permit.
Okay.
It's a separate permit. So we took the 2% and added it into our clerical personnel, and that's to cover any contractual. The commission has one employee, Kim Eldridge, who is here tonight but doesn't want to sit up. She works 31 hours. That's an increase when we started the MS4, so we're 31 to 35 hours depending upon, but typically 31 hours in the year. The professional engineering, that has been the same, that's $18,000 a year, $1,500 per month for Delano and Associates. That has not changed in well over 6 to 7 years. But it's an hourly rate, it's approximately 20 hours, and he does reviews for our meetings. We meet twice a month, and any other problems that we have.
Is that
He
pretty
also-
average, you think, for?
Other towns?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, he's
Okay.
extremely low. Periodically, we will send out to other engineering companies to see if they want to bid on it, and no one wants to
No one-
touch it. No one wants to do the review.
That's a good
That
thing.
he does
Okay.
for the price, so. John also does reviewing of the MS4 for larger projects,
Okay.
but that we take out of the MS4 line item.
Yep, that makes sense.
Supplies, again, the same is standard, all just the standard office supplies, filing cabinets, whatever we need for the office.
And do you know where you are up against your budget for this year? I haven't looked at the latest report.
As of this year, no, I do
Okay.
not. Only what I have a copy of is for the end of the fiscal year,
Okay,
last year. The other charges and expenses we use for our membership to MAC. MAC is the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners. So they provide periodic updates. There's a handbook they do. They do twice a year, they do seminars. So that covers our membership and anytime any of the commission members want to attend one of the conferences. So, and that pretty much covers that generally every year. Everything is now done through email, which is good. It saves us a lot of paper and all.
yeah.
The MS4, the professional services, again, is Delano and Associates.
Mhm.
That fluctuates, so there is a fee associated with that goes into a separate account. So whatever we spend out of this account, we're pretty much replacing. And then again, it's a revolving account, so what's not spent is put back into the budget.
Okay.
Put back into the town.
Are you anticipating any, so the 18,000 for their services, is it just a flat fee, or does that fluctuate as well?
It's a flat fee.
It's a flat fee.
It's a
Flat fee.
flat
Yep,
fee. It's
$1,500 times 12.
$1,500 a month. It's $75 an hour for 20 hours per month.
Yep.
There are instances, and we are having one right now, where different filings come with different fees associated with them, and it depends upon the level of, that he has to do. We have one filing that the commission needed more information on, so John will go out and do some test pits and to see about confirming some wetlands. That's outside of the scope of the type of filing that the applicant files, so we will be billed for that. So those fees, we do have an account that our notice of intent fees go into, so we will probably have to pay him out of that one. But generally, it doesn't happen all that often, but.
Does anyone have any questions for Claire?
No?
Nice and easy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome.
Sue, I think you're up.
Okay.
geez, I went and made all these copies and everybody's bringing
Well,
copies.
I ran it in because I didn't think you had.
Yeah. I know, I went in to the office and had them make everything, but that's fine.
Thank you.
Actually, which is okay because I don't think they make copies of yours. Jeez. I told them you were on the list. Thank you very much. All right. So we have
Okay.
Susan Gilpatrick from the town clerk.
New to the whole budget process.
That's fine.
Position I wasn't anticipating yet it coming into, but I'm here and I'm embracing it.
Exactly.
So I never actually really got to do a budget with Dina, just time-wise when she left and whatever. So for this year, I basically did just a 2% increase, you know, kind of across the board, as far as supplies and all that kind of stuff. Because I really, you know, didn't understand, you know, I should, you know, look back and delve into, well, how much did we actually spend last year, you know, the year before on conferences and that kind of stuff. So I basically did the 2%, and like everyone else has said, whatever we don't spend at the end, you know, it's
Right.
going back to the general fund if we didn't use
I
it.
think one of the things I just suggested to take a look to see where you ended up last year and then look at where you are up against the budget this year.
Yeah.
Just to get an idea of,
Well, I know last year we turned back like $200.
yep,
But I did, there was a little, you know, money in the budget, and we had wanted to purchase e-poll pads. I don't know if any of you noticed it, but when checking in for town meeting and also early voting, we were able to do it electronically on the computer. So I knew I wanted to purchase that for the department, so there was some money in there, so I started the process and purchased some of it in fiscal 18 and the rest of it in fiscal 19. So I was able to.
so you're doing it in stages instead of all at once.
Right,
That's a
and
very good
right
idea.
now I have two laptops and the software for the two laptops and the licensing and all that. And once we're hoping that the state is gonna approve the e-poll books for, all elections, you know, right at the polls, not just the early voting. So I would need 2 more stations. So,
How many did you have upstairs? Like, because that was early.
well, no,
voting,
no,
right?
I'm just talking about just having the laptops, the software for the 4, one for each precinct.
Oh, okay.
Upstairs for early voting, we were able to just use the one check-in table. We didn't have to have a check-in and a check-out. So I just had the one station set up for that. I did have a second one ready to go if it got crazy busy and we needed to do a second one, but, you know, we were able to handle it with just the one at that point. But for town meeting, we do use two people checking in, so we do keep the 2 running for any of the town meetings and special town meetings.
And how would that work? I guess just because I didn't get a chance to see it. So set up in the gym, and when you come in, would each of the precincts?
Each of the precincts
Because
would-
there's 2 people normally
Right,
sitting
and
in.
one would be handing out the ballot, and the other would be checking the person
Checking
in on the laptop,
Oh,
as
okay.
opposed to on the printed sheet.
Yep,
Yeah,
save some paper
absolutely. Although, at this point, we still have to have a paper backup.
Until they-
Just in case.
Yep.
Computers,
Yeah.
things happen, we all know that. So basically, I went down, salaries for the support and the clerical were a little difficult because they're still in the middle of negotiations. They haven't actually gotten a raise since last July. And I'm sure there'll probably be some retro, but I know the budget for last year was increased, so I do have extra money in that budget right now, which would cover their retro and, you know, their increase for the rest of this year.
Okay,
And
good.
I'm assuming that they were going at a 2%, so I put it up 2% for next year. I did increase my salary 2.5% and not the 2%, only just to get it a little closer to where my expectations were. I feel that I've gone through the first year. It was a very smooth transition going from Dina, who had been there for 6 years, and I'd been in the office for 6 years. I think the department has run at without any glitches and smooth transition, and everything's just moving right along and things are getting done. Sick leave buyback, Michelle, it would be the only one eligible for that, and I don't think she's quite there yet in her time that she would be eligible, but then again, I don't know if there were any changes to their contract.
That's only if they choose to use it, right?
Right, they would have to, request the buyback as opposed to.
And then they get it in their check
Right, but you have to have a certain amount of hours.
to leave on the books.
Yeah, on the books, just to be able to buy it back. The stipend for chapter 41, that's a state mandate, well, it's a state law that the town has adopted, and that's based on how many voters you have in town. And so I've been entitled to that. And the additional comp is another stipend that, it'll take a couple years, if I get my CMC or my MMC, before I would be entitled to that. But I know last year George told me just leave it in the budget, because obviously it's gonna go back if I don't,
Right.
I'm not gonna get paid out, obviously, if I'm not qualified for it.
Now, have you started taking classes towards that, or?
All the
Webinars or
conferences,
whatever?
well, all the conferences I do go to, and I've been going to workshops, that they have 4 times a year, and I've been bringing, Michelle to them too, just, we're kind of I'm new as the town clerk, Michelle is fairly new in the office and new as an assistant, and Katie is new in the office as principal, so we're trying to take advantage of all these workshops and conferences that we can all go to them as much as possible and, get ourselves educated and make sure we're doing things as it should be done.
So in the oh,
Do you have a timing or a path for getting this certification, and what do you anticipate it would be in?
I'm not sure if I'm going to get the certification. It takes a good 3 to 5 years to have all your courses in, and I'm getting up there.
So this line item is specific to that certification?
That's specific to
no?
that certification,
Okay.
yes, yeah,
And the chapter 41,
yes.
you said that you're entitled to that. What is that
It's
one
something
again?
that the town adopted, and it has to do with the voter registration and the VIRS system with the state. So then, as far as the town meeting and wardens, next year we will have a March primary for the presidential, and we'll have our annual town meeting. We probably, I know I believe there's gonna be early voting for that, the March one. So I really couldn't anticipate all the costs at this point.
Do you remember if you went over the last time? Or is that too far?
I wouldn't have really been that involved in as far as the financial part of that office I don't know if she had to ask for an increase. But what's on the budget
Can't
would definitely
remember
cover,
what she,
yeah, because I know occasionally they have had to, come to the finance committee to ask for additional funds to
yeah,
cover.
I think she was fine. I don't think that she did. I could be wrong, but.
Yeah, and I know this year, like, we got a $1,300 grant for early voting because we did open on a Saturday, had some hours on Saturday, and then I did just receive, it was a little over $2,000 for the early voting for the unmandated costs, the mandated unfunded costs for early voting.
Okay.
So I did get a little over $2,000 for that, to help defray those costs, because we did have someone working full-time other than my office staff, running the early voting, and then I had a second person on with her for most of the shift. So that was all additional expenses, and
So was the 1,300 plus the 2,000, or?
there were two different grants. Yep, the 1,300 was just for having hours on the weekend, other than your normal working business hours. And then the other 2,000 that covered the expenses during the regular workday that were over and above your normal costs.
Okay.
So for training and education, like I said, I wanted to keep that as much money in there as I could, just so that we can take advantage of all these seminars, other conferences and workshops that we can go to. There is one the end of this week that I did not sign up for because talking with people, and looking at the courses, there really wasn't anything there that I was like, I don't know anything about it, I really gotta learn. And honestly, with the weather situation this week, would have been gorgeous. But I've talked to other people that said the last 2 or 3 years coming back from Devon's, it was a disaster, and accidents, ice storms, and chicken.
Real quick, can we go back to those 2 grants? So are those things that we'll receive perpetually, or do you have to reapply for?
No,
those?
you have to reapply for those every year.
Okay.
Yep.
Will you be able to reapply for?
Oh, absolutely.
And you won't
absolutely.
see them on here.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not in this
They
budget.
come into George's.
Yeah, they go, well, they actually get added onto my, like, we get extra polling hours every year, for what the state, the, extra time, for stuff that the state needs us to be, requires us to be open, that we're not, so, and this money will go into that account, and
Yep.
it defrays the, expenses for running
When you
elections.
budget those hours, those hours are outside of these line items as well, correct?
For the early voting?
Yeah.
Yes, that wasn't on our regular budget at all, no.
Okay.
But the early voting, it's all so new to all of us.
Yeah.
And if it's gonna be something that's gonna be every year, every election, obviously it would be something what we'll need to put into the,
I'm just trying to think of how we can better see that, have visibility into that. Something to think about.
Yeah. Again, because you're gonna get the grants, it's just gonna come in, you're not gonna see it on here. So you're not getting, what your point is, you're not gonna get a clear picture of the salary because it's over and above.
well, I mean, like, that grant money, none of that went to me,
Right.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but we're still responsible for,
Oh, absolutely,
looking
yes.
at your staff and their salaries. But I don't think, you're not gonna see it here. Because that's gonna come into, just, like you said, that budget, that account.
Mhm.
And then they'll just move money from there to,
Right, money that I had paid
So do
out.
they get separate checks for that, or is it just all included once they put in their hours? It's included in their check, excuse me.
Well, they were paid at the early voting time, so that money came out of my budget when they worked early voting.
Okay.
And then,
So it's just like a grant that just gets added on?
right, it's just additional funds.
You're not gonna be able to see it here, because you're not gonna get it, you don't know if you're gonna get it every year, so you can't put it in
But
your
you're
budget.
not budgeting for those hours too, so that money,
Right.
that in and out is completely off this
Right.
sheet. But I'm just wondering if it shouldn't all be accounted for, not only the hours and the line items, but then the additional income, if you wanna call it, the grant money, just something to think about. Just-
I agree, I understand what you're saying, but from a budget standpoint,
Yeah.
I don't think you can budget for it, because I understand you wanna see it, and that would be from the monthly management report.
That's what I'm thinking probably.
So it would be a
more, yeah.
monthly management report. From a budget standpoint, you don't know if you're gonna get it, and you have to reapply, so you wouldn't include it here, because what if you don't get it? And
Yeah.
you've already included it and put it on the salaries.
When do you know you get the grant? Before?
Not always, well,
So that's
Yeah,
a part of the issue too.
Yeah.
yeah, like the,
because
the
Baker probably
second-
just signs it and says you gotta be open for early voting,
Right,
and
and we had to
he'll
cover it,
help defray the costs.
yep. And, like,
Should we budget it though in salaries?
No.
If we are required to be open for those, and then if we don't use it, it's.
No, because I don't, in my opinion, I don't think so yet, because the early voting, I don't know, it's new still. But, I mean, I guess you could budget the salary part.
Because you wouldn't notice if you were overspent in the salaries at this point, because you're still paying on old rates. So they could, if they were in their new contracts, that salary line might be short when you factor in these extra hours.
Well, it actually wasn't the people in my office that worked,
Right, that's the
that got
thing.
those salaries. It was the election workers.
But it gets paid from these lines?
No, the
No.
next page, actually, right?
Okay.
No, not, it gets paid out of the town meeting ward and warden lines,
Yeah.
the 5180.
So what happens if you didn't get those grants? What would happen?
I would have to absorb that money in,
Right.
So you still need those people, regardless if you have those grants or not,
Correct.
you still need
yeah.
them.
But then would have to, because early voting is so new, then would have to
We'd
make
just
adjustments.
reassess the budget, yeah.
Right.
You know, if we're gonna have we're gonna have 3 elections this year with early voting, so it's gonna cost us this much more, so we'd have to adjust the budget.
The machines you were talking about earlier, did you say you purchased 2 in 18 and we're hoping to purchase 2 more?
No, I
Is that-
purchased, I think it was like, I think I might have gotten 1 in 18 and 1 in 19.
Okay.
And I didn't budget anything for this because the state hasn't even approved using
Right.
them at the polls, so I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself where technology changes all the time too.
Are those grants easy to apply for, or are you pretty much guaranteed?
No,
that
they
you'll
were,
be-
fairly easy to apply for, and it's pretty much if you fill out the $1,300 one was pretty much if you fill out the paperwork, prove that you were open, you got it. But the other one, the one little over 2,000, I had to send them in, how much I spent on salaries, how much
The breakdown.
the breakdown of the work and the amount of money I had to spend for, we had to advertise it in the newspaper, where and when it was, and sent all that in. I mean, it was a
So is it like part-time work?
the-
For the, once you get the grant, I'm talking about the folks who are actually doing the work, where they're not the folks in your office, they're just folks you hired under the grant, and how many hours they're gonna be, I guess you would.
Yeah, well, it was, like, I used Marsha Weidenfeller for
Yeah.
most of the time, where she's experienced and knows the elections, and, I can pretty much, I didn't have to be on top of her all the time. She knew the rules, she knows the process. And then the other people that came in were people that work elections, so they were familiar with the whole process. So it wasn't, so they were people, and I don't believe they're paid,
Is it minimum wage?
Marsha was paid through the payroll department.
Yeah,
And then the other people were not, they were paid the regular election rate, which is not minimum wage.
okay.
Yeah.
So, as a town, do you set the dollar amount that they get paid?
We
Or,
do,
you do?
yeah. And there's, surveys have gone out from town to town, and, we're pretty much in the middle. Some people, because the minimum wage went up, they raised their minimum, they raised the wage to the minimum to meet the minimum wage. We have not at this point. We pay $10 for our checkers and $12 for our wardens and clerks
Okay.
an hour.
So when you submit the grant, do you just figure out how many hours are gonna be open, and then how many people you really need for it?
Yep.
The grant goes in, okay.
Is there any opportunity to get more money with the grants, or they're set grants? So 1,300
Yes,
is
the
a set-
1,300 was set. If you opened at all on a weekend, and it was set on, it varied on depending how many registered voters the town had. So some towns were only eligible for 600 or 800, and where we fell, we had 10,000 registered voters. We were eligible for 1,300 as long as we opened at least 4 hours over the weekend.
Thank you.
And then your next budget?
Our next budget is the registrars, Board of Registrars. The Board of Registrars' salaries is something voted on at town meeting. It has not changed, as far as I know, in years. We have 4 people on the registrars, and it's $500 for the year.
Yep.
As far as the expenses, that's what we use to pay our census. I did put that up to 2%. I haven't actually got my bill for this year's census. was very disappointed in the service we got this year. They just got mailed out, and they were
Right.
supposed to be mailed out at least 2 weeks ago. So
Is it the same company?
it's the same company Dina used last year. Prior to that, we had been doing it in-house, but it was just getting too big to be doing in-house. So we went back to a vendor, and I will be looking at other vendors before next census time. So I actually haven't got the final bill for how much the census is actually gonna cost me for this year. Generally, if there's money left over in the census, we use that towards our street listing book. And then the rest of that is absorbed, the rest of the cost of the street listing book is absorbed out of our regular, off the regular budget for the town clerk's office.
And so this money's pretty much spent every year,
Yes, yeah.
because it goes towards the books afterwards.
Yeah, if it's not spent on the census, it'll go to the books.
Okay.
Can I ask an unrelated question, but maybe related to the town clerk budget?
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there was talk about vital records, maybe it was years ago, to preserve the records
Yep.
that you have.
They've, the money that they got from capital and that's all been spent.
And that it was successful?
Yes,
Good.
yeah, yeah, I mean, we still do, I was talking with Brian Kiley the other day, because my vault, I'm running out of room. So we're trying to figure out where I can put little racks in there, because, there's certain vitals that, the vitals have to stay in the vault, where it's the the humidity controlled and everything.
Right.
But there are other stuff that I have in my safe that I can put upstairs, but I would need to put in a locked area up in the attic. And then that would free up more room shelving for more vitals, because we're growing.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Susan? All right, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we have Patrick, right? All right, welcome.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
So just very slightly changed from when you and I met.
Okay.
No change in the bottom line, it's just the
Thank you.
housekeeping
Thank
on
you.
the 29th.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, welcome.
I'm Patrick Franey, I'm the building commissioner.
Okay,
This is actually the first year that I've kind of had the whole budget under my control. When I started, I inherited the budget. It was already pre-prepared for the most part.
I remember.
And I just kind of followed through with what they did. So this time, I was able to, I can kind of show on this sheet, the 2019 was the budget that I had
Okay,
loosely come up with last year based on what they gave me.
okay,
And then in the 2020, the adjustments that I could make, especially if you look at page 2, the bottom down on the planning board side, a lot of these line items do not need to go up year after year.
oh, yeah, I remember, okay.
And some of them, as a matter of fact, could come down a little. And then, based on how some of the expenses were being allocated, everything was being put into one miscellaneous expense.
So you broke it out?
So, yeah, I tried to break it out as best I
That's
could.
the smart
It's-
thing to do,
And
yeah,
it's
just-
still working on that.
Okay,
Because at the same time, what we did is, last year, we implemented online permitting.
oh yeah, how's that working?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The other thing it's done, we,
Because then people don't have to come in, but you still have all the information.
correct.
Yeah,
They don't have to
Good.
come in, it's better for them.
Mm.
It's
better for you.
it's gonna integrate with the big, the overall plan. This is, kind of step
Yeah.
one, get the building department doing online. It also helps us out with the record keeping. But the other thing is online permitting, it's been shown for every building department that does this, it increases permits. There's a lot of permits out there that don't get pulled because it's too hard to come to the building department, it's a small permit. But those contractors, they don't want to break the rules, it's just easier to break them.
Right,
This is making it, they can pull permits at night.
yeah, which is just easier.
We also increased the fees last year. We're still below surrounding towns. It was a modest increase. We're still below most of them, but we did come up between the increase in the fees and the added permits that we won't know until May.
Yeah.
That's when we went
To
online.
see where you're at.
To get an accurate, but based on those two, it more than offsets the online permitting annual fee is $6,500. It's gonna more than offset that. It's actually gonna decrease the burden on the taxpayers.
We like to hear that.
And we're hoping, maybe next year, maybe the year after, we can combine this, the annual fee to the online permitting. Several other departments, if they come on board with online permitting also, if we combine those, we think we'd have a better bargaining or better leverage with the company. If
That's
we
how I
all
was gonna say,
went-
are they all using the same software?
Right, well, that was our intent, because the assessing uses this People GIS.
Yeah,
They have a module for
Exactly.
building departments, so we researched other online permitting companies. They were the least expensive. They gave us exactly what we were looking for with customization, and we already had
Oh,
that
that's
platform
great.
here in the town.
yeah.
If other departments that go to permitting will do the same thing, I think we can negotiate a much better, so each one of us are paying an annual fee. I think if we combined them all into one budget, we could,
Decrease it down maybe a little bit.
right, so that would be
Unless they
more
charge
movement.
by module, then
How many other departments think?
Well, this would work, it's
for anyone doing,
for anyone doing it. We also, if we could incorporate somebody, if we could provide the training to somebody in town, or even if somebody outside, the People GIS, you can write your own. They have,
yeah.
you could really customize it, where you could do
I
your
think
own.
Erica was working on that before she left, wasn't she?
It's a lot of work.
I think it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work for somebody, but for the right person, it could work out well. So any permit you can think of in the town, health department,
Conservation.
zoning board, special permits, conservation, dog licenses,
Yeah.
anything, any type of permit or license. The selectmen issue permits every year for a common victualler or business licenses, things like that. All of these things can be incorporated to the same system. And it will integrate all of us. So, if an inspection gets done by a wiring inspector on a property, the system will know if they have a license, will know if they're due for an annual inspection, and all these things can be incorporated into one system. Really good.
I would think that there would be one universal fee, and then you'd have to pay for licensing. So if you had
Right.
10 different departments, you'd only pay one fee, but then you'd pay for the additional licenses. It probably would be a benefit to the town.
We're hoping. This company, People GIS, this permitting, building department permitting and other permitting is new to them, because they do GIS mapping. That's where they started.
Okay.
So.
Are other towns around here using it?
They are, a lot of them are coming on board, they're growing very quickly. They're really good because they're so customizable. You can get exactly what you need for your town. And I think a lot of towns they're also inexpensive, comparatively
Which is-
speaking. So
yeah.
that's a huge thing with, you're dealing with the municipal budgets,
Right.
you need to stay, under a certain threshold.
And like you said, if you can get 6 departments in and 6, 7, whoever.
Yeah. So we're hoping the negotiation could go exactly like that. I'm not sure they have a system yet for exactly what
Have
we're
you talked to
asking.
the town administrator about that? Just
Can ask.
combining that?
Who's leading the initiative?
Besides yourself?
Well, that's,
It's you.
well, there's a few of us that have been meeting, Paula from assessing.
Yep.
The fire chief, DPW director, we've all been talking, and this is kind of in its infancy. We're just beginning the talks, and then once we get something together, we'll go,
That would be great.
We'll go to the town manager, then we'll go to the selectmen, and we'll
Yeah.
come back to the finance committee if we have to
Yeah.
move money, because there might
Keep
be
us
a
updated.
situation where we need to, in the beginning, it seems like you have to spend money, but as we can show with the building department, we're actually gonna save, the cost that we put into this is actually gonna save money.
Yeah. Plus your productivity will increase too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yep.
Great. So I see at the end, just going through, you, because I can see that you spread it out just looking at the planning boards. You
Yeah.
definitely spread that out, and it looks like you cut down on a lot there,
Yeah.
which is great. Is there anything you want to talk about besides the GIS, people GIS system that stands out, I guess? Because I see your overall increase is 1.6,
Yes.
which is great. We love when people come under budget.
Yes, and I think that's, you know, moving forward, I think we can continue with the same, the same type of goal and philosophy of, you know, we don't need to increase it all that much, but what
Yeah.
we do need to do, we do need to increase productivity. There are certain things in the department that we just haven't been doing. We don't have the time, but that has to do with reorganization.
Okay.
And the online permitting is helping a lot with that. So if we get into, you know, helping, you know, increasing the productivity without increasing the fee, I think it's
Yeah,
that's the
great.
goal.
Now, how are you doing up against your budget for this year so far?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're
Is that
looking-
how, did so you use this year's numbers to be able to decrease some of these?
Yes, what I did initially is I took the 2019, and as the year went on, I could realize where the money actually needed to be spent and not be spent. So I made some adjustments to the 2019.
Yep.
As like a visualization to say, here's what we really need in
Yep.
2020. So.
Which is great, so you basically did it off of an actual dollar.
And I didn't have all of them, but I had most of them. And so when Crystal and I talked, we were looking at the 2019 adjusted budget,
That you did.
and based on that is how I came up with the 2020.
Okay,
Then I went back on this particular one and put in, this is what we had asked for in the 2019, so we can make a comparison.
yeah. So this, yeah, that makes sense.
Because you can see up at the, most of the, you know, when you looked at the planning board and you noticed that there was a decrease, well, that was mostly a shift, because some of the things in the building department weren't being paid for. There was nothing in the, and what was happening is, at the end of the year, there was coming in, the bottom line, it was coming in under the bottom line, money was being given back, so all's good.
Yeah,
So-
that's good.
But I'd rather try and keep an idea of exactly, you know.
Right, just be conscious of the fact of where you're at and then adjust.
Well, yeah, if we see, for example, the gas and plumbing and wiring inspector, they have a line item for office supplies and training, and they were going over that. But nobody was keeping track of why, and they weren't even putting the money into that line item. It was coming out of the miscellaneous expenses. But we need to be aware, if this
Right.
is for their education, their training, if they're going out to meetings, if there's a need for that to increase, we need to increase that. We need to
Agreed.
find out where the money needs to go.
Right.
And so if we move it from somewhere else, if there's a need, we have to meet it.
Yeah, exactly,
That's all.
as long as you stay under your budget.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's the goal. I mean, the goal is always to,
Right.
I'm a taxpayer too. You know,
Are all of your salary line items, they're all completely contractual obligations on all of them?
yes, these, and the planning, the administrative and clerical, I believe are accurate. I estimated that at I know they're not, their contract isn't done yet, but I
Right.
estimated that at a 2%, and one of them also had, is still early enough in, they're getting the step increases. So I tried to figure that and the 2%, so that this would be accurate as I believe it will be, if that's how it goes. And the gas, plumbing, and wiring, that's just given to me. I don't
Right,
sign their paychecks, but that's just given to me. This is what the budget is for them.
Because they have their own set prices.
It comes straight from the selectmen on
Yep.
there.
Okay. Any questions for Patrick? Great.
Huh?
See?
There you go.
Because you were very efficient
I guess I said enough.
within budget, and we appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And I like you, keep us updated on the People GIS.
Will do.
All right.
All right,
Thank you. All right. Next. Hi, Phyllis. Good, how are you?
The assistants at one time were only a one-shot deal, the assistant building inspectors, because they came in very seldom.
Oh.
So that's why but George has been putting in a 2% on them.
So they're the folks, the assistants, are those the folks that actually fill in if someone's not around?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And they started actually utilizing them a little bit more when the school was being built, because Ed was over at the school quite a bit,
Right.
making sure everything was adhered to over there. So
Yep.
they did use them a little bit more, and I think that's what made the little bit of a change in the assistants. But, like you said, that is given to them, but George has been putting in a 2%.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to account for them, and then it just will go back anyway to the general.
Mm.
Yeah. At the
I
end.
think they're paid quarterly.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I think we have.
Might be, no, I think it's quarterly, I'm not sure.
On account.
So I did belatedly put in a 2%.
Is yours,
With an
did it
impact.
change from what you submitted to George? I
Actually,
make
I
copies.
submitted today the 2% and the impact. Did you get that?
I got the
I-
2%. It's 3 pages. One is just the.
I gave it to Melanie this
I was
morning.
gonna say, it looks like that front
This is
page
it.
is the one that,
Yep.
the updated.
Right, let's see. 3. Sorry. Oh, thank you, kind lady. There you go.
Oops, sorry.
All right. So you have the 2% and then the real needs, because the 2% didn't include those longevity, right? Basically.
Exactly. I did put in for the special longevity. I would like to retire at the end of this
What?
contract. It's like, before you guys kick me out of my walker.
When is
Okay.
the contract?
Pardon?
How long are we talking?
2.5.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, 2.5
2.5.
years. If I last that long, if my brain lasts that long. So I did put in for that, but
Okay.
whether I get it or not, I don't know. There is 52.4 weeks in the clerical this year.
Okay,
So that actually, so it pushes that up over the 2%. So in order to hit that mark, I took it all out of the operating budget because I have no place else to go.
Yep.
And that leaves nothing.
so you have your contractual, I guess, that you did on your salary,
Yep.
then the,
And then
Your admin.
2% for the,
so your admin salaries are more than 2%?
no, that's it will be because it's 2.4 weeks, 52.4 weeks.
Oh, right, the
You
extra,
get those 2 extra days for both of us.
Yep.
So it pushes it up a little bit. I mean, and our budget isn't very big, so I mean, there
Right.
really is no place to go.
And then the longevity pay. Yep. So the difference between, okay, so that is longevity pay, sick leave buyback.
You took out the training and education of $850 and $200 of in-state travel and mileage, correct?
She's not going anywhere this year.
But there are annual conferences that you attend generally, right? There's the,
Yeah.
it's the Mass, like, accountants
Yes.
conference every year, right? That's out.
Well, I don't go every year. I kind of looked at it this year, and there wasn't much to offer this year as updates and changes.
In FY 19?
In 19.
Okay.
So I opted not to go. So I'm thinking I'm not going this year. In fact, it's probably totally booked. The day it comes out, it's totally booked.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, you
I'm
have to
not
get
going
in
this
early.
year.
Because they only have so many spots instead of enough for everybody to go.
Yeah. And a lot of times I'll take a class just to brush up on different stuff and stuff like that, but they're really, this year it's like, wow, why did they offer this? You know, so, I opted not to go this year. I don't know what's gonna be next year. To get my certification, I need to go, at least once within 3 years.
Okay.
So I was recertified last year. This year, we had the girl, my assistant, her grandson had a kidney transplant. And she needed to be home with the grandchildren for every other week,
Mhm.
maybe a day, maybe a couple of days here or there. And because, I mean, things in our office, it was surprising how things didn't get filed or put away, or we kind of kept up with the work, but you did it as quick as you could, you know?
Mhm.
So to actually reduce her hours we just wouldn't be able to keep up with the work that's being done in the office.
Okay.
You know, and she was also gonna go to training for procurement. So she's already taken one class, so, in the procurement office is actually done in the accounting office
Okay.
at this time.
Okay. So your first budget comes in at the 2%, and basically you just gutted your general expenses.
Yes.
Because that's what,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the only place I have
Yep.
to go.
Okay, so then let's talk about your real needs budget, what the difference is with you putting that back. And that real needs budget equates to $39.60 over your
Yes.
budget?
Yeah,
Okay.
so my 4.6 isn't as large as some of the bigger departments, you know? So if I put in for the 5, 5, and 5, I actually don't get it for the full year because I'm not 10 years until November. And that pretty much leaves that difference there in the pay. And then to leave the operating expenses to what we actually need, just leave them alone.
Right.
Not go up anything.
And then you give back what you don't need at the end anyway.
Yeah, you know,
Like if you didn't go to the conference and
yes.
for that, okay.
Do you know roughly how much you gave back last year? If at all?
No, actually, I think it was like maybe $60 or something like that, you know?
It was close. How are you doing against your budget for this year? Must
I'm
be
doing
close.
fine, I believe, yep.
Yep.
You didn't go to the
Can you-
conference this year, and that's budgeted in here, so.
Pardon me?
You didn't go to the conference this year, and that was budgeted, so that's a
In
savings in that
19,
area.
yeah.
Can you send out the management report when you get a chance? Do you have December's?
I thought
Did you?
I don't have You're the,
I know.
okay, I need your email address. Yes,
Okay.
I did send out December's, but
Okay.
I had to take Chris off.
Yep,
So if you want to give me your email address,
Okay.
I'll send it right to you.
I'll get that to you.
I have sent that out.
I don't want to say what it is. Okay. And then once I get it, I'll disseminate it out to the committee. Does anyone have any questions for Phyllis?
Does Christine have any, like, desire to go less hours? I know you said that you guys fall behind, but is it anything she's looking to do?
Not at this time.
Yeah.
No, I don't think she can.
Okay. I'm
Is
good.
it?
Anybody else? I'm good too. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Do you want to?
I'll swing by
Oh,
Oh.
okay, good.
with the email.
Sure.
Is that what you're looking for? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
We're a little early.
Which is perfect because we just got done with the person before.
Oh.
So we're ready.
Meant to be.
When I saw you guys come in, I was like,
Thank
oh,
you.
that's great.
Finish our meeting, we're like, oh, we got a lot of time.
And we're like psyched because it's time. All right. Did your budget change from, I think I have,
Oh, we were told we had to have like a mission statement from all the other people that were ahead of us.
they did actually. I'm trying to find, I think.
The bar's getting raised.
I
It
know,
is.
yeah, I'm like, oh my God.
All right, so I have it. If it didn't change, I have copies.
You have that, yeah, I emailed it to George and Crystal, I think.
Okay.
I have some extras if you need them. Thank you.
You guys need copies?
Nope, I got it.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
here.
Okay, so we have Board of Health.
It's all you.
Let me? Okay, that's fine. So we'll start off with the salaries. Any increase is contractual, of course.
Yep.
As you see here, health inspector, Bob Philbrook, went from 68,382 to 69,600.
And that's contractual?
Yes.
Okay.
So isn't Sue, administrative assistant salary, there's an increase there. Vacation buyback, we had a very slight increase there, along with the thing that we did have, we did give a little bit of a 2% raise to Lisa Royal, who's our public health nurse, works down at the East Bridgewater Community Center. She's put in quite a bit of amount of time down there. She's developed a couple programs. She's been with us now 2 years, 3
I think
years?
we're on 3 now.
Yeah, 3 years. Done a really good job. She's got a really good relationship with
Oh,
the
that's
not
good.
just the elderly, but some of the programs that she does with a babysitting program, things of that nature. So we thought it was worth our while to keep her on board, and we gave her, like I said, a little 2% increase
Excellent.
in hers. That's about it on the. Well,
And the sick leave buyback, that's large because,
Oh, I
That
didn't
is
see that.
large because under the personnel bylaws, Bob has now accumulated enough sick time that he can
so
buy
you
it
have to
back.
budget it on there.
And he might use it all, but I have to budget it in case
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Okay,
Is it the 5-year hit?
No, it's after you get, after you accumulate over 120 sick days, you can
Yeah.
buy back
Okay.
over that. And so he's been here long enough that he's got that many days. And he, he does take some sick time, so he may not buy any back, but I have to budget in case he
yep,
wants it.
absolutely.
Yep.
So there's really no changes to the Board of Health expenses.
Actually, I
Went down,
decreased-
though.
I decreased to offset, I was trying to offset.
Oh, the
sick time
MS4.
buyback, so the
Yep.
Yeah, we
MS4,
came
we
back
really
with it.
haven't been spending a lot out of that.
Yeah,
at
Claire had
all.
mentioned that earlier on her
We have to
side
keep
too.
it, but, we offset the increase with the sick time buyback off of that.
And last year, you didn't spend it all either, did you?
No,
No.
no,
Can you-
but
why
last
is that?
year,
Can you
MS4 is the storm, it's the new state stormwater regulations, and it falls under conservation, DPW,
That
and,
was the
yeah.
same one.
So
Yeah.
our
It's the
part
same.
is, we can do enforcement, because we are allowed to ticket and issue violations under the non-criminal, it's a disposition bylaw. So that's where we step in if somebody, if there's a hit, like, I think, was there a couple years ago, there was a hit on West Union Street, there was some sewage in the storm drain.
In the brain, yeah, they had to do
They had to camera it.
camera it and then do the dye test and all that.
Yep.
So that's when we came into play, that's kind of our purview.
Right.
Oh, good, so, all right.
Is the increase in the supplies, chemicals, is that just, is it increase of needs or just the prices?
Yes, so I think if you look.
Down
you'll
on the
s-
treatment plant?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to get an update on that after.
Yeah,
last year.
so the disposal area expense is the monitoring of the, still, we've got about, 10 years left, I guess, or so?
On the landfill,
Over
yeah.
landfill over at Bridge Street, so it's mandatory. So that hasn't changed from last year.
Yep.
And then that rolls us into the treatment plant.
What happens after 10 years?
Then it's, as long as it hasn't had any violations
Yeah.
For
Like gas or
Gases.
gases
whatever?
that are coming out, yeah, they've got the test pits that they.
That's it, it
Yeah.
just stays closed.
Dozens, yeah, just, then we don't have to, as long as it's a certain amount of time, it was like 25 years or something.
Yeah, it's
that had to
25
be
years, we
monitored
get like another 10 to go.
for-
Okay.
to do it, but we've been, knock on wood, we've been pretty lucky with it, as far as the testing goes, so we really haven't
Nice.
had any issues there. I think the only really service we've had over there is some fencing stuff that we changed, that we had to
There's gonna be
update.
some fencing that's gonna need to be done, but we're trying to work with the DPW
Oh, yeah, maybe
to,
combine on something somewhere.
because, yeah, it's a facility, it's a town facility.
Yep.
And so, we're hoping the facilities management part of it, we don't, we're not fence people, we don't know,
Right.
we don't get estimates for fences and erect fences,
Right.
so we've been talking to them a little bit about helping us.
Oh, that'd be
do
good.
that.
Which brings us
Alright.
to the treatment plant.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yes, so we, last year, it was almost 2 years now, we decided to kind of facilitate some of the plant, the treatment of the plant ourselves.
Mhm.
So we partnered up with, what the hell's the name of this guy?
Jason?
Jason Toprania?
No.
Oh, Clearwater.
Clearwater,
yeah.
yeah.
Clearwater.
So many of them, yeah. So Clearwater has an arrangement with us that they work with DPW, with Jason, and with Bob Philbrook.
Yep.
And now we're doing all the monitoring of the system ourselves.
How did that training go? I think that's what we talked about last year, along
We
with
both got certified.
issues that we
Yeah.
had.
So
Okay,
they
good.
both have 3. Are they both 3 now? Has Bob get his 3 or? Okay.
No,
He's
he's,
one level lower
One
than
level,
Jason,
okay.
yeah.
He's got one level up.
because Jason
comes
had
with
some
background.
existing
Yes.
already
Yeah.
before he was
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. So he came, so basically what we've been able to do is, each year, kind of monitor where we are as far as the expenses go and tighten it up a little bit from when we originally began. I mean, when we originally began, the line item was quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And we've been able to kind of fall back a little bit. The increase in, I'll let Sue can talk on it a little bit more, the 5,000 increase on the chemicals was due to.
We were overexpending the chemical line item 2 years in a row
Gotcha,
by a
yes.
lot.
Right.
So, but we did,
Right, because that was one of the things we talked about last year, I think, with the plant out there, and you had some, they were coming in monthly, and you had to we had to pay to
the
get it
pumping,
removed.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The pumping
Which
and
actually,
everything.
we were doing so great and something broke, this month and
Ugh.
had to pump. I think I just submitted a bill tonight for $3,000 in pumping, which is,
That's a lot.
excessive.
Yeah.
But it's a big plant and has expensive equipment, and when something breaks.
Right.
So, but and actually, we had over budgeted last year, not even
Is it just
realizing.
wear and tear that broke, or?
The blower, yeah, I mean, I guess that it's not meant to last forever, and it was, I think it's gonna be a $5,000 repair to fix it.
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah, but we are okay right now with this budget.
Is that something you're submitting to capital?
Nope, it's coming
No,
out of our
'cause it's
budget.
less than
I have it,
10,000.
I have it in the maintenance equipment budget.
Yeah.
The utilities, I think last year, Brian, Kylie shored up some, like ear pockets in there, new, fix the garage door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
it's
we
working with
joined, we have
ventilation.
that second half of it too, which is operated by or used by the schools. They have
Yep.
the supply, so between the two buildings, there was some air ducts in there that the air was, when we blew the hot air in, it was just going right out the door. When we originally started, we were
If
getting
you're blowing
bills.
through gas, the gas bills were
It was-
$1,000 a month.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Gee.
was nuts. And with Brian, we were able to sit down and he was able to alleviate some of those issues.
That's great.
They were able to
Yeah, so
iron
that
out a
utilities
little bit.
budget, we won't spend all that budget this year at all. You know, we're doing, and we're already into February, and we have plenty of money left in that line item,
Okay.
so.
So you're doing well against your budget then?
Yes, we're doing okay now.
I mean, even
we
with
gotta,
these couple of
We
things,
had nothing
yep.
else
Right.
major breaks, but we're
Yep.
doing well against this budget, yeah.
Okay. And no issues, Bob and Jason are out here able to do the review and do what you wanted them to do?
Yeah.
And is Clearwater, because I remember, I think Clearwater last year was here all the time with them
Yeah,
to
they,
get it
the first year,
going?
they
Yeah, which-
definitely serviced a lot more than what they've done now. So the monitoring is all through, they've got it through, online app that
Okay.
they have basically, that they can see, they get alerted
Oh, good.
on any issues that go on over there. And if there's something they can handle, they take care of it. If it's something that they need
Yeah.
Clearwater to come in. And
So is Clearwater in here somewhere?
Yeah, they're under the.
Under the professional services testing, under
The,
525310. Treatment plan expenses.
Oh, yeah, professional services
Yeah.
testing.
We started
Because-
decreasing that line item last year.
Yes,
But
because
that's
we took
zero.
out Jason and Bob, yeah,
Right.
we took them out from there.
So this is consistent now.
The
That's
diff-
zero, that line item.
The
No, it's
5310,
50,000.
50,000.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I wish
Um,
it was zero.
I wish it was zero.
Yeah, the big thing with Jason and Bob is that before, when we had Whitewater, we were paying an exorbitant amount of overtime for emergency calls, because they would call us and nobody would know what they're talking about, and it's like, okay, yeah, go fix it, and we'd have to pay them. Jason and Bob now know what's going on, so they can say that can wait till the morning, so we're saving money on excessive.
Timing.
The double time calls. We were getting, $6,000 in extras, bills that we're not getting anymore.
And it's working well throughout the summer, too? Because
Yeah.
wasn't that a use issue?
Well, we tied in the fire department recently,
Yeah.
and CVS.
Nice.
Now, yeah, CBS is.
Well, we knew CBS was
Yeah.
coming, right?
And
So-
now we're in the final stages, right?
Yeah, we're gonna aggressively start looking at, so we gotta get Central School in there. We've got the liquids, but we don't have the solids, so that
Yeah.
would be.
Is town hall in there too?
Not yet.
No,
No,
town
no,
hall
that's
system is out
antiquated?
front. Yeah, it's pretty, it runs pretty smoothly, so.
Yeah.
Don't really think we need to interrupt that, but.
No.
We've had some issues with Central, but, we'll figure out a plan when we want to tie them in, but that will probably be next.
Oh, that would be
And,
good.
we're still trying to get the, hopefully it's, we got a meeting this coming Wednesday to get the rules and regs finally done. I mean, it's been a 2-year process.
Right.
We had a special board of, 9 of us, I guess, is what it was. So we've been working with Weston and Sampson on that, and we're hoping to kind of shore that up, because we really can't step out and talk to, whether it be Cumberland's or anyone else, without
Right.
those in place. I mean, our deal with Cumberland, with CVS was strictly just kind of like throw a number at them, see what works, and,
Yep.
and that's basically how it came about.
And you still have plenty of capacity, right?
Yeah, we still gotta figure out what.
Too bad you couldn't get Cumbies in there, and then they could redo their
Well,
whole thing.
We're going to try.
That's
Yeah.
the idea. I mean,
Change their, but
yeah.
they'd have to change their footprint, I think that's what they were saying.
They own the land in back, and they own the property going, to Spring Street, so if they could.
Do they own that? Because
something-
they claim the state does.
Yeah.
No, they own it.
They got it,
Okay.
yeah.
They
So
have
they
a
know
big
what they
piece.
have, so they have the same rail, basically, they use, that CVS uses.
Oh,
It's the same gentleman that works with Cumberland Farms as well. And they've got a list, I mean, it's a punch list of different stores that they want to fix. And Washington Street was actually ahead of this one over here in 18, but.
And Washington had already been done once.
Yes, and the problem with Washington is they've had some issues too, I guess, with the neighborhood that's
It's
behind,
residential, yeah.
behind there, that little
Yep.
circle there, or cul-de-sac that's back there, so.
Yep.
I think hopefully they've put that on the shelf and maybe concentrate over here.
Oh.
Because we keep telling them it looks like a crap hole compared
Right.
to what CVS looks like now,
Exactly.
so we'll see, but again, we really, it's hard to negotiate when we can't really give them solid numbers on what the usage fee is, or what the setup fees
Yeah.
are and all that stuff.
Oh, that'll be great when you get that.
Yeah, should be hopefully meeting with the selectmen, my goal is by the end of this month, to sit down.
Now, are you charging CVS?
Yeah, they get charged for.
So you have that part all done?
Yep.
And that just goes into the.
This is a special, the special regs that we wrote up for them, which is really on a high side. I mean, eventually they're gonna say, wait a second, this doesn't seem right. So once we implant the new rules and regs, it will be for anyone and everyone. So they'll fall in that as far as what their
Yep.
fee would be for what they use, because it's very small. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not bringing in much there either, but.
And I think this goes right into the general fund right now, because we
Yeah.
don't have a revolving.
Yeah,
fund.
Right, there's no
We won't.
revolving account
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, yeah, so.
Yeah, once you can tie in anybody else on that street
Yep.
that can pay.
I was just gonna point out quick that, so for this as of January 7th, so just a few weeks ago, Clearwater, in the professional services line item, I slid 33,500 in there of the 50,000, and we're more than halfway through the year, so.
Right.
you know,
Oh, that's good.
We're doing good.
Yeah, the plan really just comes down to something going right or something going wrong, based on where the
Right.
line items fall into.
Like you said, expensive equipment, expensive
Right,
repairs.
if
Yeah.
something goes on, but, and we had a hell of a time getting it back to where it needed to be honest with you, from where we were before with the company that we were using before. Not to say they did a bad job, but we just feel like we've got more control over what's going on. There had to be a lot of cleanup. That first year was trying,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Well, it's good that you have two people here, too.
Right.
You know, to help out. Okay.
Mhm.
There was a decrease in the operator line item, right?
Yeah, because actually I over budgeted it last year and didn't even realize it, so. So I gave you the real number this year.
Thank you.
And it's very big landfill, we won't have the landfill contract till April or May. That has been steadily going down by about $1,000, so chances are that will come in at like $28,000, not 30, but we level funded it just in case.
Yep, makes sense. All right. Does anyone have any more questions? All right.
Thank you.
I know.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, you know, we're very excited.
Yeah.
Right. I was wide awake when I got here.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really good.
Been about 20 minutes. Because when Phyllis, when Phyllis was here too, the same.
So don't take it personally?
Nope.
Push or say yes. All right, thanks.
you.
See you guys.
Thanks, good night. All right, so, yeah, I tried to get your attention.
I can't see the monitors in my way. I was
Um,
not aware.
So, okay, so, well, this was,
Can I just give one, I didn't want
Sure.
to necessarily bring it up. We are going to see the sewer treatment plant come in again tomorrow night on the DPW budget. There's been a shift happening, it's coming off this budget and onto the DPW budget, but they haven't had their meeting yet. So,
oh, okay.
so we are going to see it.
I see what you're
reflected
saying.
Again
Yep.
tomorrow night.
Which group is it? Which one?
So it's,
The bottom treatment
Okay.
plant section.
Yeah.
It'll show up again on
Okay.
DPW's budget tomorrow night, but just know.
So
that
they're taking it out of the
it
Board of
won't-
Health and moving it to
exactly.
there.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's not really an overall increase, it's more just,
a shift, complete shift off one.
Yep.
Cut and
okay.
paste.
And so tomorrow night, we are seeing fire at 6:30
Yes,
and DPW at 7:30.
correct.
Okay. That sounds great.
Do we have a new time for Council on Aging?
No, that's my next thing
Okay,
I was
sorry.
bringing up. So we have, so fire and DPW, and then that leaves, we still need to schedule the library, school.
We're meeting with school Wednesday morning, so hopefully we can have some dates.
And COA, I believe, are the other
we,
ones.
So on our calendar, we have kind of a 2-week gap. Are we gonna try and potentially fill the school into one of those 2 weeks?
Well, one of the
Uh,
school weeks was
One's
school vacation
vacation.
week, so that was tough.
Right, that's why we didn't do anything over vacation.
Yeah.
I really don't
There's
want to,
another- then we have
to be
another
honest with you.
week.
There's a
Only
week
because
after.
I
Week after that, then we have nothing.
have a
going.
couple of, I have some plans that in the works, so I don't really wanna.
Yep.
I think it'd be the 26th.
But then we have the week after,
maybe?
the last week in February, we don't have anything scheduled.
Yeah, so right now I just have March 4th, February 12th, and then March 4th
So
after
we'll
tomorrow night.
see if if they can do anything the last week in February.
Yeah, so, let me get my
26th of February.
calendar.
We were waiting for something from George for the library, Michelle, I don't know, did we get that or no? And then Council on Aging, Nancy was on vacation,
Okay.
so that's
Right.
why we had to switch it.
Yep.
I think, Michelle, I could be wrong about that though, for the library.
Sorry, say that again, you think we're switching that? Is
Say
what
that
you
again?
said?
I have a budget for the library.
Were we waiting for something from George though?
Oh, if the their board was.
The Board of Trustees, I believe, is that what you were
'Cause they were
referring to?
holding that
Well,
meeting.
in our last meeting, we had talked about, the Board of Trustees. They're the ones, it's similar to the school committee.
So I'll reach out to, if you give me.
He already submitted his budget, because I just saw it in there, with Rebecca.
Okay, and then, do you want me to focus on the last week of February for the library and Council on Aging?
So we need library, so library and council on aging could go at the same time. Not the
there-
same time, but same night.
Right.
School has to be its own night,
Yep.
because there's a lot of questions, a lot of line items, things that are up and down. So we wanna do library and council on aging, we could probably do that the last week,
Last week in February?
yeah.
Okay, I'll reach out to them.
Council on Aging, are they usually Mondays too? Because we only have
She could come,
on the March 4th. I didn't know if there's, because right now
Yeah.
we have assessor.
well,
board
March
of
4th, it's kind of full, because we have Board of Selectmen, assessor, and, treasurer.
Is that a lot? Okay.
It's a lot.
Okay.
For one night. Well, not a lot, but I mean, it's a good
Yeah.
amount.
So do you want me to focus on the last week of February? For,
Is that
I think if we
vacation?
get, I think our priority would try to get it.
So vacation ends what, the 24th?
Yeah.
And then we have the 25th, the kids still have it off. So Tuesday would be February 26th. For Library and Council on Aging.
so that's the week after vacation, do you want me to try and see if I can schedule them?
Or should we try to schedule school first and then?
Are you looking for the school that week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
So you want to do the school February 26th, or is that a date
We
you're
can
gonna
try it.
throw
We
We
out?
can
We'll
try
certainly
for
ask
that,
them.
and then if they can't do that, we'll let Jen know and she can try for Library and Council on Aging.
Okay, so I would say at this point, we have dates of 2/26.
Okay.
No, we don't have 3/4, it's already full,
Oh, yeah.
which
I'm not
brings us.
sure if Nancy I don't know if she needs to come on a Monday. Or if she can come on a Tuesday.
And I'm not sure with the library either.
Yeah.
In the past, both have come on Tuesdays,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Came
So
on
I'll
Tuesday for
wait.
our last meeting.
he did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll wait to hear
So
from
the
you
library can do
after
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can
I
let you know
don't
right
know
away
if
so
they'll
you
have
can
an
start
answer
planning.
right away, but.
So we have 2/26 and
At least
basically
David will get
2/19
back to us that
Yeah.
day.
open,
I just figured that.
I would say.
Maybe we-
Wait, did you want to stay?
I'm sorry, 3/19.
Yeah.
What'd you say, I'm sorry?
3/19 wouldn't be too late?
No,
No? Okay, so I'll wait
I
to
think with the way
hear
things are going, no.
from you regarding the school.
Okay.
So we'll just wait until after that Wednesday and we'll figure it out.
So 3/19,
And then Nancy will be back from vacation, so then I'll be able
No,
to.
they're
touch
not
base
gonna be
with
there.
you.
okay, so 3/19 is the other option?
I think so.
Is
I'd rather
that-
do a 2/26,
Yeah,
but
me too.
if we can do the school 2/26, that would be ideal.
That'd be the first choice.
Yeah.
So if we can't
And
do
then
the
if
school
not-
2/26, should we try for the week before the 19th? What would that be, the 12th, 3/12?
We could, yeah, oh yeah, 312 is still
Yeah, we
open.
kinda skipped that.
We were gonna do 312, no, yeah, I had it open.
Yeah,
but-
we changed it to 212. I think.
Yep.
So 312 will be another option for the school.
Yep, 226 or 312.
And then that, if the school.
And if we could get, yeah, the opposite.
Yeah.
Whatever. So if you guys could just coordinate with the
Yep.
folks, and that would be great.
Do what we do.
And you have all your contacts, right? Great. All right. Does anyone have anything else? No? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion?
See you
All right,
tomorrow.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, so 7 o'clock, we get out early.
Look at this.
Great.
And we're here tomorrow at 6:30.
Yep, tomorrow 6:30, it'll be 6:30 to 8, easy.
But upstairs, right?
Yes, upstairs tomorrow night.
I think